Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Women, Real Talk. I am one of your co hosts, Shavon Carter, and I'm a facilitator for Real Women. And who am I joined by in this new year?
I am joined by your other co-host, Nikki Richardson, and I am so glad to be here. Happy New Year, y'all.
Yes, Happy New Year, y'all. We're so excited to get this jumped off in the new year. So we are well into the new year by the time this episode airs. And we're so excited to be journeying with you to bring you some really good content, some good discussions. And today is going to be another good one. So
Mhm.
before we get into any of that, sister, how are you doing? Real talk. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I am. Um, by the time this airs, I'm excited because I would have gone to my first beginning farmers class.
Nice.
And so to be able to start taking that journey, I've decided that I'm going to chronicle it with some videos and pictures and that kind of
Okay.
thing, primarily for myself, but also just for posterity's sake. And I might post some things about it. So I'm excited about that. And today is a good day. I'm really focused on, you know, how they say people set resolutions and all that stuff. And then by
Yeah,
February, they gone and all
they're
that kind of
going
stuff.
right.
I'm really feeling because I don't do resolutions necessarily. And, you know, some of it is tomato, tomato, but really, honestly, for me, it's just who am I this year? Who am I and what is my intention about
Yeah.
who I am this year? And
Hmm.
so, because it's simplicity, my words this year are simplicity is a
Hmm.
big one for me.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just really excited about keeping a lot of things simple, like
Hmm.
just really keeping things simple. So everything from what I'm eating to my conversations to how I'm spending my time and my money, I'm
Yeah.
really trying to keep things very bottom line and simple. So I'm in a
Hmm.
nice, zenful, clear space right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How are
I
you?
love I love how being a part of Real Women has caused many of us to uh I guess how we go into the new year and how we end the year is so different. And
Mhm.
it's given us a new perspective on how to go about it. Because I remember we talked about, instead of resolutions, setting intentions, and just we
Mhm.
have really reframed how we treat the end of a year and the new year.
Yeah, you did that to us. Y'all did that to us. Like, okay, all right. But it makes so much sense
Yeah,
that because what happens is you say, I'm gonna lose 40 pounds and
right,
I'm
right.
gonna and then when you don't do it, you're disappointed in yourself.
Mhm.
You end up going the opposite direction and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And there's really no need for it. I think I said on a video recently, just asking our all access members in Real Women, just when you think of who you want to be this year, I
Mhm.
am, I'm walking in freedom this year. I'm
Mhm.
walking in, what is that? What word comes to mind for you? And then whenever things get hard for you, you can think of that word.
Yeah.
Or, you don't have to beat yourself up about deliverables. You do that at
Mhm.
work, but not in life. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
So that's kind of where I am also today. Like, I'm feeling reflective, and that's been my word for a little while, because it seems like 2024 was such a reflective year for me. And so I am just in a space of uh, tapping into my essence. Like, what essence do I want to bring into the new
Mm.
year? So that's what I'm feeling like. Where am I? Let's get to the core of who I am, and let's go into the new year with that, and being her. So yeah.
That's a yummy word. I haven't heard that in a while. What is my
Yeah.
essence? Like,
What is
what is,
my essence?
oh,
what
Me.
fragrance do I want to bring into the year? Yeah.
Listen, I won't gonna belabor the moment, but you just did it. Don't play with me because
Yes.
as soon as you said essence, I thought of essential oils,
Yeah.
and that's where I am right now. I really don't do perfumes. I have a ton of essential
Uh-huh.
oils, and I love those.
Yeah.
And it really is like at the very essence of lavender or some other herbs there and plants, there is an essence that is captured in these oils, and so
Yeah.
you end up, oh, your fragrance, I love that for you. Yes.
Yes. What is my
Mhm.
fragrance? So that's what I'm kind of rolling around in today. Like, because and I love this time of year, like I said, when we get to slow down and we're starting a new year and we get to start over and just kind of reshape how we want to be and how we want to live. That's how I see it and go into a new year. So for me, it's just like, there was so much anxiety around some things in December of the last year. And so it's like, okay, what is that? I want to get that scent off of me and go in with a new fragrance. So that kind of sparked today's conversation, which we'll get into in a little bit, about value, and I'll share more about what came up for me in that conversation. But in this real talk segment, sister, since we're going to be talking about value a little deeper in the deep dive, what's something in life that you believe you value the most?
Oh, this is so hard. Because there's what I would like to think I value the most
Yeah, yeah,
and what I actually value the most.
yeah.
So I think if I look at my life and my time, okay, these are the honest things that come to mind. I value me time.
Okay.
I really value me time.
Hmm.
Um, I value affirmation. I really like to hear wonderful things about
Yeah,
myself.
yeah. It's real talk. Yes.
Real talk. Um, and I value um, money. I value money. I
Mm,
value being able to acquire
mhm.
what I want to acquire.
Yeah.
Um, I value that because
Mhm.
a lot of what I'm striving toward, even if it has the most noble intentions behind it, it's going
Mhm.
to take money to get it. So I value money in order to get it. So yeah, those
Yeah.
are that was really rough for a real talk opener, sister.
I needed to set it up, because of where we're going, because we're going to have a conversation about value. So, what do I value the most? I most of all, I value inner peace.
Mhm.
Like, I really don't like when I feel conflict within myself. Like, that just really troubles me. So I'm always searching for answers so that I can experience more inner peace
Mhm.
within
Mhm.
myself. So yeah, I'm finding that that is something that I value and intentional about all the
I
time.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That was so much
Mhm.
better an answer than mine.
No comparisons. Everybody's answer is
Mhm.
great. Yes.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I don't listen. Watch the last episode. Grace for me. I give myself
That
grace.
is. We're gonna share more of my stuff when we get into this deep dive. But yes.
Okay. Yes.
But yeah, so I just wanted to know what that is, and I would love to hear from those of you who are watching. So feel free to visit us at speakpipe.com/real women real talk, or you can email us at info@realwomenrealtalk and just let us, or realwomenrock.org, and
Mhm.
just let us know what you value the most. Like, what is something that is most important to you? We would love to hear from you.
Mhm. That was good.
Okay. So, since we're talking about values, sister, let's go on into these deep waters and talk about this a little bit more. Are
We
you
won't
ready?
we won't already there. Okay.
We
All
won't
right.
already. That was just we at the edge of it. We are
Okay.
at the sand. We can still see our feet in the sand where we were just now.
Okay.
So we're going to turn value on its head, and I wanted to talk about what's my value. Like, what is
Mm.
our individual value?
Ooh.
Because I want to tell you just a little bit to set this up where this comes from for me. And then I'll ask you, I'm curious to know um, your thoughts about this. But recently I've noticed how anxious I've been and unsettled I've been about being a counselor in training. And it's really been troubling me because I hear the messages from my therapist. He's been transparent and just shared that, you can be doing this for years and still not feel like you have it all together or you have it perfected. I hear this from my professor. She's been in the profession for 20 years. And there is something where you may always feel like an imposter, right? Like you
Mm.
feel like you may not know what to say or how the best way to approach things. And so I have these experienced counselors telling me this, and still dealing with the wrestling, the anxiety, oh, I don't know this, and all this kind of stuff. And quite frankly, that narrative is starting to get on my own nerves, right? So when I start to get on my own nerves and I start to feel the same anxiety and stuff, I'm like, all right, let's get in here and figure out what is going on here.
Mhm.
So I went on a journey with myself and I asked myself, I started with like my emotions vocabulary sheet that I have. So it has all of the main emotions like fear, hurt, anger, and then it has some subcategories of emotions that help you to dig deeper into those areas. So I noticed that inadequacy and fear were kind of the main ones, and then it showed me as I looked at the list, some other words stuck out to me that helped me to
Mhm.
understand what I was feeling.
Mm.
So that was part of my entrance into exploring what I felt. And then I was asking myself, like, okay, so you're afraid of what? What are you afraid of as it relates
Mhm.
to this area? Oh, I'm afraid of being looked like I don't know what I'm doing. Okay,
Mm.
well, great. What if you don't know what you're doing? Then what? Like what are you making that mean? So I just kept digging down into, okay, so you feel like you want to be the person that knows and be esteemed as this person that knows all the things. Okay, well, if you're not esteemed, then what? So
Mhm.
I went down the list of questions with myself, and what I got to was, oh, you're connecting your value to performing.
Mm.
You're
Mm.
connecting your significance and worth to doing well and achieving
Mhm.
something. And
Mhm.
so when you're not achieving, that is telling you that you're not valuable,
Mm.
which creates this angst and anxiety to keep performing, and then you're being critical and judgmental of yourself for not knowing, as if that's going to motivate you, right?
Mhm.
So that's how I got to this conversation with
Mm.
myself about value.
Jeez.
And so
Yeah.
I want to pause there, and just ask the question, sister, as it relates to value and self worth. Do you struggle with your self worth and connecting it to things externally? Like, is that an issue for you?
Yeah. This is so good. Uh, so the putting of this on its head, first of all, because me at answering at the very beginning what I value
Yes. Yeah.
feels different in me than
Mhm.
what's my value, right?
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
that feels different in me.
Mhm.
Um, and I can definitely say that I struggle with self worth. I used to struggle with it a whole hell of a lot. Like, just
Mhm.
it was, um, and it's so funny because the more I struggled with it, the more I did my best to outwardly appear more confident and,
Yes.
dress it up and dress me up. And um,
Mhm.
it was probably when those who didn't know me well or see me deeply thought I was, the opposite of low self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
Now that I have a bit more self-worth, I am more vulnerable about that. So I am more confident about saying I don't know everything. I don't, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel
Yeah.
great about this. And so I value on some level, I value myself more that I'm more vulnerable about who I am.
Mm,
Um, but I still struggle in my most quiet time.
mm,
And when I rehearse things in my head, I do struggle with it. And I think to your point about digging and digging,
mm.
to figure out kind of where my intrinsic value lies and why it's where it is.
Yeah.
um I connect, we talked about this last episode about perfectionism and all of that. I
Mhm.
connect my value or any lack thereof to my mistakes.
Mm, mhm,
This is not going to be a fun episode for me, but
mhm.
I connect my value to my mistakes.
Yeah.
So they can be major, big mistakes, or they can be smaller ones. But if I make a mistake, if I do something that I did not intend to do, or if my intention, if my effort doesn't turn out the way that I thought it would, that
Mhm.
must say something about who I am and how much I am quote unquote worth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot, but yeah.
Yep, I get it. So this has been ongoing area of growth for me for sure because um this new profession is exposing what has been there,
Mhm.
and I guess being in a profession that I've been in for 20 something years, I haven't really been present to what's underneath because I haven't been challenged in a way that would cause me to think of and look at life differently like this profession is. And so, yeah, self worth has been an area of a growth area for me, honestly.
Can I say something else?
Yeah.
So it's almost cliche-ish to talk now because so many people are talking
Mhm.
about self-worth and self-esteem and
Yeah.
valuing yourself.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's still important to talk about because as a church girl,
Mhm.
um, that is where I learned to devalue myself.
Mm, mhm.
And it is a constant fight within me to disconnect my spirituality
Mhm.
from my level of self value and worth.
Mm,
Because it is not, I am as valuable as I think um, about God, about what I think about God, or what I think about what I was raised to believe, and all that
mhm.
kind of stuff. I can think about times when I was in church and heard filthy rags
Mm, mhm.
and wretched, sinful, what a wretched, sinful
Yeah.
man I am,
Mhm.
and just crying tears because of how bad I
You
was.
felt, yeah. Yeah.
According to what was being presented to me, I am
Mhm.
bad. My
Yeah.
value is nothing. There's
Mhm.
a whole and I'm hoping you're not going to go here later, but there's a
Mhm.
whole conversation right now going on with B Simone and how
Right.
she's talking, her new moniker is I'm lit, but
Yeah.
it starts with I'm nothing without God, but with God I'm lit. And
Yeah.
so that whole I'm nothing, I
Mhm.
am nothing without
Yeah.
God. So that is such a dichotomy for me. Like it's just so
Yeah.
problematic. So this journey of my self-worth has been antithetical to the spiritual journey I had been on before. And
Mm,
I know we're probably going to get to, where I am now, or what, what my lessons are, but you just made me think about a whole host of feelings that
mhm,
that are connected to my self-worth as a church girl,
mhm,
that make this so complicated within me, and just it feels
mhm,
contradictory, and this war that goes on.
mhm.
Ugh,
Yeah.
ugh, ugh.
Because yeah, and that's one of the things. And I didn't define self-worth on purpose, because it is so subjective and so personal, and it's up to us to define what it is. But I like what you shared, because our definitions have been shaped by our experiences, or our spiritual environments and messages, or maybe what we've been told in our family. So there's a lot of
Mhm,
factors that contribute to why we see ourselves the way that we do. And I know mine, a part of my self worth and why it's so tied to achievement, because that's what was preached for me, and really how we were I was socialized, to be like you make good grades, you go to school, and then you get a good job. And so that to me said, oh, in order to do that, that means that I'm significant if I do that. And if I don't, then something must be wrong with me. So there was something associated with, me connecting my worth and my value to achieving and accomplishing things.
and if you think about the converse of that, the people
Uh-huh.
that we devalue in society
Yeah.
are those who don't have those things you just listed,
Yes.
or no longer contribute on that level. Like I have been thinking a whole lot about older generations of people,
Yeah.
our elderly, and how they are devalued in society because they're no longer, some of them are no longer contributing on the levels that we value, that society values, right? They're
Mhm.
not working full-time jobs anymore. They're not bringing in, all that kind of stuff. And how people who have less seemingly are probably some of the people who have the most to share and the most to give, and
Mhm.
had it, no matter what they have or don't have or do or don't do, it has absolutely nothing to do with who they are, you know
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
such a helpful conversation, not just for me to think about myself, but for me
Yeah.
to see it through other lenses too. So thank you.
Yeah, because we placed, and me also have placed so much stock into uh external things, that at the end of the day, it doesn't really speak to who I am as a person, who other people are as individuals. And so it's, for me, it's just, I feel like I've lost sight, and many of us may have lost sight of what really matters, even
Mhm.
within myself, because I'm so busy striving and thinking that material things define me, or how much money I make. And all those things are great, and not to say that they don't need to be important, because that's how we live. But it's how much value I'm placing on that, and what how much of it I'm using to define who I am as a
Mhm.
person, is the challenge for me. um and so that goes into, and we've kind of talked about that, like, what do you, or have you noticed that you've connected your value to, and how has that shifted for you?
Mhm. Mhm. This is good to me. This part, the journey of where I've been and where I am right now, even though where I am right now, still has some bumps in the road.
Yeah.
I am worlds away from where I was,
Hmm.
which goes back to what you said earlier in the real talk question, asking me what I value. I
Hmm.
value my me time, right? And I do value affirmation and people speaking well into me.
Hmm.
But I don't see, honestly, today, I don't see nothing wrong with that, because because
Mhm.
it will be reciprocal. I'm going to pour back into other people, but I know me, and I know what alivens me, and I know
Yeah,
what speaks life to me. So people speaking well, it's like love language, right?
yeah.
So words of affirmation is a love language for me. It's just knowing myself better is how I see it. And then money resources,
Mhm.
I gave it probably more of a negative connotation at the beginning. But when I think about it, when I said I have noble intentions, I really do have noble intentions for the use of this
Mhm.
money that I'm acquiring, that I value,
Yeah.
that I want
Mhm.
to acquire, because I know what I want to do in the world. And I know that it, for a lot of, whether it's my money or somebody else's money, it takes money to get it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So today I feel, like I said, much more connected to my value and my self-worth, because um I am saying to myself, you are not what you do. You are
Mm.
not, and even if I have those feelings that automatically come that I can't help because of a mistake, because remember, mistakes are connected to my lack of self-worth. So
Yes.
when I make a mistake, we talked about this last episode, I have to immediately give myself grace,
Mm.
and or very shortly after a moment of, of whining, I got to give myself some grace, because I can't live in that space. I can be so hard on myself in that space
Yeah.
that it it's crippling. It can be crippling. So today, my connection to value is grace. I give myself
Mm.
grace. That is one of my favorite words. And when it comes to how that has changed, I am a I am a simple person these days, and
Yeah.
simplicity is what I love. So it's really not about things or accomplishments or doing. I value within me that I am doing my very best to say what I mean and mean what I say,
Yeah.
that I care about people and I invite people to care about me. I'm open to being cared for.
Mhm.
I'm more vulnerable. I focus on the things that make me who I am. And based on, you got me going. The last thing I'm gonna say about this is you taught us, you and Neff taught us about the pieces of us, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I'm able to look at the pieces of me, and even the pieces that are either shadow pieces or pieces that, when left on their own, they will just run me crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm able to look at all of those pieces and accept those pieces, and value those pieces, because they are
Mhm.
me. She is me.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
so my connection to my value is much more nuanced now. It's like an antique. Like, I value myself now. Like, I done been through some stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm here and I'm worth
Mhm.
something, because I'm here to show for it. I'm still here and I'm valuable, because not in spite of what I've been through, but because of what I've been through, I'm still here and it's made me who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. That is
Mhm.
so good. Um, for me, I recognize that I have connected my value to material things, achieving how much money I make. That has been a real part of what I've connected it to, right?
Mhm.
And I understand, like I said, as I'm going through this exercise, even though I have done work in this area with myself, it's an ongoing conversation because I know that I can easily lose sight of my value and put it
Mhm.
back into those external things. And so, what this exercise recently did for me was just reminded me of how I need to continuously remind myself of my intrinsic value,
Mhm.
which are intangible for me. So, just going back to, and it's funny when you mention just the upbringing spiritually and in the Christian environment. Um, I I I usually go back to the Old Testament, right? And that really speaks to me of, being fearfully and wonderfully made, and just being so intricately crafted that
Mhm.
nobody else can be like me. So those are the pieces that I hang on to that remind me of, oh, I am so unique that I nobody else has my fingerprint. Like,
Mhm.
nobody else has that. So that means I must be valuable, right? Because I was created so intricately, as such a masterpiece and as such a workmanship that my heartbeat, the way that my organs and the blood flows through my body, like that is some detailed work.
Mm,
So
mm,
I can't be insignificant if someone would take the time to create me so deeply and intimately, like to put me together and then to sprinkle like my personality in it and the talents and the characteristics that I have. Like, girl, you
so,
you are worth so much. So that's what I have to get back to. But it's so easy. Like I've been present to that before, right?
mhm.
But clearly I had lost sight of it because I was being anxious and just focused on other things. So for me, it's just making sure that I'm staying connected to my intrinsic value. And that's how that's
Woo,
where I am right
you just you preached a mini sermon, girl. That is so good.
Yes,
So good.
'cause that's
Mm,
what I had
mm.
to walk myself through that today. Like, okay, ma'am, we got to get back to the root of who we are and not for who you're making yourself, what you're making yourself be, and all this anxiety that you're having. Why? Where
So
is that coming
good.
from? Yeah,
So good. So necessary to,
it's
yeah.
so necessary. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what are some ways? So, there's maybe some of you that's watching this and like, yeah, that sounds great, but I still don't know how to figure out my self worth. Like, if something is,
Mhm.
there's a disconnect here. Like, maybe in my mind, I know what it is, but in my heart, I just can't receive it, or it's just not hitting in a deep space for me. So, what are some ways, and I'll share some ways that I've found in a minute, but what are some ways, sister, that you would offer to increase self worth?
Woo. Um, so I'm gonna get real practical. I'm
Okay.
gonna say start off by writing down or thinking through or putting in your notes on your phone
Mhm,
um, things that either you know you like about you
mm,
or you've been told, you've been complimented on at some point in your life.
mhm,
Oftentimes, we can get 10 compliments and one critique, and we will forget about all of the compliments and focus on that one critique.
yeah,
So, I know that it's possible that you haven't heard a compliment in a long time. I know that that's possible. But
mhm,
I have to believe that there is something about you that you like, or you used to like, or that at some point in your life somebody said something about what they loved or liked about you, or complimented you, or said you did a good job. What was that?
mhm,
Write those things down, because if we're talking about increasing self-worth, what we focus on is what gets most of our attention and our energy, right?
yeah,
So writing a list of those things and allowing ourselves to just start there. Well, yes, I am good with kids.
yeah,
And yes, I am a good cook. And yes, I am loving. I am the most loving person I know,
yeah,
just starting with that list and really just speaking those things to yourself over and over again. I think that's a great place to start, because
mm,
we can talk about what else you believe and what you can learn about yourself and all of that. And the counselor in you, I'm sure, will have some extra suggestions. But right here, right now,
yeah,
you are worthy and you are valuable. And so there are things that you may not acknowledge and know about yourself yet, which is commercial. What I love about Real Women is that we take the time for you to explore you, so that you can figure out and discover things about yourself that you may not even have been, it wasn't on your conscience level,
mm,
right? But it's there. And so taking some time to think about what you think about yourself,
yeah,
is
mhm,
really important right now, because whether you believe it or not, you're valuable right now. So trying to pull some of that out and write it down, I think, is one solid way. That's
yeah,
where I pause for now.
okay. So I found some tips on the positivepsychology.com website. So I want to share some of them. I won't go into all of them because I don't want to overwhelm those who are listening with so much information. If you
Mhm.
want more, go to positivepsychology.com and look up self-worth, and they have a whole article and a whole list of things. But one of the things that I thought was helpful, especially for those of us who do attach their significance and self-worth with external things like um, material things and validation from other people and achievement and that kind of thing. If we solely base it on that, then that can help us to lose sight of our self-worth. So one of the exercises that they encouraged was, if you thought about everything that you have, if everything that you had was taken away, everything that you attach your value to was taken away, how would that make you feel on the inside? And who would you be without all of that?
Mm,
Like
mm,
what? Like who would you be? There's nothing that you're holding on to. You don't have your BMW, you don't have your big car, your big house, you don't have your six-figure salary or whatever you've been attaching your value to. How would you feel without all of that? And who would you
mm,
be? How would you define yourself then? And I really found that to be helpful because that's where it got me to thinking about, wait a minute. Okay,
mhm,
that does not define who I am because that can come and go. But when I think about the things that will never go away about me, like I'm kind, I'm caring, I'm loving, I am funny, I am humorous, like
mhm,
I am a masterpiece. When I look at my hands, I look at how I'm wired internally, like that is some intense work for me to be here. So I am significant because I am here. And
mm,
that is enough. Like just me being created and being alive and being present and is a gift to this world.
mhm,
So when I look at it from that perspective, it ain't about none of this stuff.
mhm,
That's like surface level stuff. What about what I have within me? And
mm.
that's what really excited me when I looked at it from through that lens of remove all the stuff and look at who you are. Like that really encouraged me. What are your
What
thoughts
was
about that, sister?
what was scary about that is when you first asked the question, if
Yeah,
everything was taken away from you, what
yeah,
would that how would that make you feel? What would that
yeah,
make you feel? And who would you be then? What
yeah.
then?
Uh-huh.
I can hear and I it's probably a piece of me because of just my background,
Yeah,
but I can hear the echoes of some people, maybe
yeah.
even listening, that would say,
Mhm.
"Oh my God, I wouldn't be anything. I would be nothing."
Right.
And that it breaks my heart because of everything you just said. How
Mhm.
who we be, like who
Who
we
we
be
be.
is
Yeah,
the most valuable part of our lives.
yeah.
um Nobody gets to be us but us, and so that intrinsic value, that idea of who I am inside of me without all of the accoutrement, without
Right,
all of the bells and the whistles,
right.
that is the priceless piece of who we are, the
Mhm,
priceless part of our lives. And I love that. I love that question. Like when I think
mhm,
of that, the first thing that came to me is I am light. I would be
mhm,
light in this world, whether I had
mhm.
a house or a hut. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I would
yeah,
be, you know, I would I would figure out a way to shine no
yeah,
matter what because that's who
yeah,
I am.
yeah,
So yeah, I love that.
yeah. So that was such a powerful exercise. So I just wanted to give that one. And let me be clear. I ain't saying I'm gonna get rid of none of the stuff I got. Let me just say you know what I'm saying? I thank God for the stuff that I have, but for me, it's just connecting to who I am. And if I didn't have that, and not putting so much stock into that defining me, like
Yes.
that's what the exercise was for me. And just refocusing, like I said, who I am and what I bring to the table, so that when I am doing things, like being a counselor, I can tap into that as opposed to, oh, am I using all the techniques and skills and blah, blah, blah? Because that is distracting me from being me.
I
So
got,
yeah.
I got something to say. Dang it.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so I am not a conspiracy theorist at all, not at
Uh-huh.
all.
Yeah.
But when you said this, it hit me.
Mm.
When you said, I'm not, I thought you were going to say, I'm not saying I have arrived at all. You said, I'm not saying I'm giving up none of my stuff.
Right.
That was good to me. And nor am I. Let me look into the camera and say, nor am I.
Yeah.
Um, but what I thought about was in these next days that we
Mm.
are living in, we cannot be guaranteed anything.
Very true. Yep.
So it is important that we prepare ourselves for the worst.
Yeah.
So if you can't get to a grocery store for 2 weeks, 2 months, like, do you have enough in your house to keep you for,
Mm.
the necessities, the bare necessities?
Yeah.
If you couldn't get into a hospital because, they're just shut down or whatever, do you
Mm.
have first aid stuff? Do you have stuff to take care of yourself and your family? I just think in these days and times we live in, we just need to think about, what if I had to sustain myself without all of these extra bells and whistles that we have available to us that we
Mm.
take for granted?
Yeah.
Um, and that has, it's only tangential to what we are discussing right now, but I just really wanted to say that out loud for some folks who are just living off of everything that we have access to and all
Yeah.
of that stuff. I think we've really got to get bare bones and think about the necessities of life
Yeah.
and having them at our fingertips. Just wanted to
Yeah.
throw that out there.
Yeah, that is so good, because I think about, even if you take one component of losing a job, right? And
Mhm.
if our significance and worth is tied to where we
Child.
work, what would happen? Like, some people really struggle to the point of
Yes.
wanting to unalive themselves because
Mhm.
the worth is so tied to what they do. And so that's why this conversation is so important, why it's important for
Mhm.
me, and hopefully for those of you who are listening and watching, because that's the worst case scenario of how our
Mhm.
self-worth being connected to external things can harm us.
Mhm.
And so I just implore you to have this conversation with yourself and to find your intrinsic value, so that
Mm,
whatever happens around you, you are on firm foundation, and you are firmly rooted in who you are as a human being and as an individual. So yeah, but thank you for
mhm.
sharing that, because that's real. We don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
So good. So
Mhm.
good. So good. Mhm. Love it.
Ooh wee, y'all. This has been good to me. Thank y'all. I have enjoyed
Yummy.
this conversation. So, like I said, I was just going to leave you with one way to increase your self worth. Just think of yourself outside of what you have, and find who you are in that. Who would you be without all of the bells and whistles? And
Mm,
then use Trenace's strategies of just identifying those things that you enjoy about yourself, maybe things that people have said, so that that can help to trigger some things that you may love about yourself. And just do that exploration. It's so important, and we talk about it so much because we are our healthy relationship starts with ourselves, and so we are human beings and we interact with human beings. But if we're not good here, it's going to shape and impact how we interact with other people. So that's why at Real Women, we're so focused on personal development, because we want you to be good with you, and we want you to be good out in the world, so that you
mm,
can
mm,
become catalysts for change and build your confidence and connect with other people. So that's who we are, and that's why we exist. And so that's why we always doing this deep dive, deep work, because
You
it's
gonna get this excavation, yeah.
you gonna
You
get
gonna get
it.
mhm.
You are gonna get it. We are here for it. We are doing the work ourselves, as you can see, and we invite you to do the same. So,
Mhm.
that's great. Thank you.
Exhale.
All right, let us mosey on into our next segment of putting myself in her shoes.
Favorite segment.
So this is like a continuation of this value conversation, because in this relationship era that we're in, there's a lot of focus on how much a man makes, and basically his value being defined by his financial status and what he can provide. And we're gonna talk about that right
Mhm,
now in this
mhm.
scenario.
Let's do it.
So Deidre and Tony, they have been together for 2 years. And Deidre has been struggling, right, with their differences in finances. So Deidre makes six figures. She has a nice home. She drives a nice car, and she can basically buy whatever she wants. However, Tony, he's a blue collar worker. He makes significantly less than her, and he lives in an apartment. He drives an older car that needs repairs, and he just doesn't have the disposable income to do a whole lot of things. He takes care of
Mhm,
himself. He lives within his means, basically.
mhm,
So Deidre loves Tony. She appreciates how faithful, honest, kind, and loving he is, and they have a good time together. He makes her smile and all the things, but she struggles with the fact that he can't afford to always do the things that she wants to do. And
mhm,
so, whether it's going out to eat and she has to sometimes pay for things if he doesn't have it, or he'll pay for things sometimes, but there are times where she has more disposable income than he does. And so, she has a
mhm.
choice to make in those times. So, putting yourself in Deidre's shoes, would you stay with Tony and accept his circumstances, or would you consider leaving the relationship?
Mm, mm, mm. Ooh, this is a doozy indeed. Woo,
Yeah.
Deidre. Okay. They've been together. I've been with Tony for
Uh-huh.
2 years.
Yep.
Um, and I'm trying to figure out whether I have always struggled
Uh-huh.
or whether I am now starting to struggle more. Like what probably knowing me, I romanticized things at the
Mhm.
beginning and
Yeah.
didn't let it bother me at the
Yeah.
beginning. Like, oh, it's cool, I got it, or that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and now we're no longer meeting each other's representative. We are together, and it's
You're
me
right.
and I'm being my full whole self
Yeah.
and having some issues with it. This is rough, because you didn't okay, I'm not even gonna make this about marriage. I'm just gonna say we've been together 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So, there is something to be said to me about compatibility,
Mhm.
and because a relationship is less about lovey-dovey feelings over time, that is
Mhm.
important. But over time, that's less about, how we feel together and how much passion and how much sex and how much this and that. It's less about that and
Mhm.
us doing life together.
Mhm.
Um, this would probably be an issue for me.
Mhm.
Um, what I have decided in my life, and I'm just going to say because the Deidre and Tony scenario, I'm just gonna say it might be a little different for me if I'm married versus not married, maybe.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not gonna impose that on anybody else, but I'll give an example of both. So if I am married to Tony,
Mhm.
I'm probably going to not let this be our deal breaker,
Mhm.
because we've made a very permanent commitment to each other.
Mhm.
Um, and I will probably do a combination of trying to talk through it, but also resigning myself to, and this is just the real, I'm going to do some things for me and with my money that makes me feel fulfilled because I'm not going to hold Tony accountable for
Mhm.
my joy and my fun and my, all of that. I'm not going to hold him accountable for that because the truth of the matter is, whether I'm willing to fully acknowledge it or not, I probably met him like this,
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's on me that, on some level that I'm feeling these feelings now, um, with the same person I've been with for 2 years. And
Mhm.
And if I'm married, I'm going to own it. If I'm not married, we would probably have a bit more of a challenge. And I could see me over time being a little discontent if my conversations with Tony yield that he doesn't even have any aspirations to grow beyond where he is right now. And I don't even mean like he's got to want, the biggest house or the newest most expensive car. In fact, I mean the opposite of that. I really don't. I just, are we going to grow wealth together? Are we, and how are you going to contribute to that? What
Mhm.
do you value? Do you value, are you just stingy and greedy with it, like you got it and you don't ever spend it on me and us? Or those kinds of conversations, we would have them before I decided that I can't take this anymore. Because if he checks all the other boxes,
Mhm.
and this is something that I came in knowing and now I got a bigger problem with it, I try to work through it. And
Mhm.
still, if I'm not married, I'd still save some time and space and energy. And I wouldn't be paying for everything for Tony. Some things he just would not be a part of. Um,
Mhm.
I would be doing it when I felt good about it, and not
Yeah.
when I felt like I had to.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's a lot because this is a deep one. But
It's
yeah,
different. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And this is a real situation for
Mhm,
people, or not situation, but a real conversation for people, um, because in the times that we live in, not many people would see Tony's value at all,
yeah,
because he
yeah.
doesn't whatever. So I think in putting myself in Deidre's shoes, I think it would be a value exercise for me, just figuring out where is my discontent coming from. I would want to
Mhm,
know that, like where am I subscribing to what's being said,
mhm,
in the world, and that's driving my discontentment. Is it really because I value certain things and I'm noticing that Tony doesn't, and so there's a disconnect in our value systems. um and, and what do I value, like what am I placing my value? So it would be that kind of exploration for me to figure out, because it would be easy to just be like, okay, yeah, I can't do this.
mhm,
And you could do that, I could do that, as Deidre, but I would just want to know where it's coming from so that I
mhm,
understand where my decision would be coming from,
mhm,
what I choose to do. So that's what I would say if I were Deidre, just to explore value, from all aspects, because no matter who it is, there's going to be something that they don't have that we're going to have to figure out whether we want to, be with the person or not. So for Tony, it's finances. For somebody else, it could be, maybe they have more children that you would like. They're coming
mhm,
into it a blended family type situation. So it's a lot of different things to
mhm.
consider. So I would just ask her to do some self exploration and figure out where the feelings are coming from.
That's good. I love the scenario said, he's faithful, he's honest, he's kind, he's loving. So the things that, based on what you just said, the things I value most
Yeah, yeah,
are things that he is.
yeah.
So I love that
Hmm.
suggestion that Deidre
Hmm.
focused the conversation in her head on values. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and then having those honest conversations after that, because like
Mhm.
you said, I would not be paying for everything, because that doesn't feel, for her, that probably doesn't feel good. So just figuring out what you want to do, what you don't want to do, and honoring that, like honoring yourself in the midst of this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. So good. I'm sure this was helpful for somebody because that's
Hmm.
real. That was real,
Yeah.
real. Mhm.
That's real. All right, sister. It's time for our spiritual nugget.
Yay,
I
we
love these
made it.
moments. They are so, like,
Mhm.
profound. Um, so what words would you like to leave with our listeners today?
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, this was a deep one already with everything that has already been said. And what is in you is greater than what is around you
Mm,
or on you. Um, what is in me, who I am intrinsically, is bigger and greater and more valuable and more priceless than what is around me or what I wear or what I own or what I possess. And the scripture that comes to mind is we have this treasure in
mm,
earthen vessels. And oftentimes, from a Christian perspective, we equate that treasure to just being God, as if God is some external piece of the world and comes inside of us. And that's the only thing that's worth anything outside of all the. I totally disagree and reject that. That
mhm.
we are the treasure.
Yeah.
We are this priceless, endless, limitless, infinite treasure inside of a human temporal experience, right?
Mm,
And so if you if I think about my soul, my spirit, my essence,
mm,
who I am is not temporary. Who I am is not tangible. That is priceless.
yeah.
And so we are who we are inside of us is more than what is going on around us.
I don't even have nothing to say after that. That
Mm,
is so. I just want to let that sink in. We are treasures.
mm, mm, mm,
If we saw ourselves in that way, like,
mm,
oh,
mm, mm, mm,
treasure? What?
mm,
You know
mm,
how much we seek after treasures? Like,
mm, mm,
how
mm,
much we try to pursue treasures and find treasures when we are the treasures
we
ourselves.
are the treasure. Mm.
Wow.
That's so good.
So
Mm,
listen, y'all, this is what we do. This is who we are. This is the essence of Real Women Rock. We are an organization that wants women to do this work on a consistent basis. We invite you to do this work. We help you, we support you in doing this work. We give you tools to do this work. We talk about the work that we're doing.
mm, mm,
We provide examples of what it looks like to do this work. So reach out to us. Realwomenrock.org is where you can find us, how you can connect with us, how you can support the work that we're doing. We are now in 2025 and we have some amazing things. We just had recently a meeting, team meeting. We are gearing up to do some amazing things in 2025. And we don't want you to miss out. Like, we really want you to be a part of what we're doing, of this movement. We are a movement. So
mm, mm,
we want you to be a part of it. So reach out to us, realwomenrock.org, for more information and how you can support us, be connected with us, and attend one of our in-person circles or our virtual circles coming up in this year. The new schedules will be coming out soon. So just stay tuned for how you can attend one of our circles and events that we have coming
mm, mm. Here,
up.
here.
Here, here. Yay. All right.
Mm.
So this has been another amazing episode of Real Women Real Talk, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, y'all.